Tycoon sees ex-wife at charity event. Shocked to learn she's raising his secret twins, sir. A voice broke through the silence. The quarterly reports are ready for your review. Jae-woo didn't turn from the window. Leave them on my desk, Secretary Kim. It's nearly midnight, sir. Perhaps you should. I'll be here a while longer. The soft click of the door signaled his solitude once more. At 38, Park Jae-woo had everything the world said defined success. JW Technologies had revolutionized the semiconductor industry. His net worth had tripled in the past 3 years alone, and business magazines routinely featured his stern, handsome face on their covers. Yet here he stood, alone on a Friday night, the emptiness of his expansive office matching the hollow feeling in his chest. He took a slow sip of whiskey, welcoming the burn. 5 years. 5 years since he'd signed those divorce papers. 5 years since Mina had walked out of his life. You're choosing your company over us, she had said, her voice breaking despite her efforts to remain composed. I can't compete with that anymore, Jae-woo. The memory stung more than the alcohol. He pressed his forehead against the cool glass, watching raindrops race each other down the window. His phone vibrated on his desk. Another notification from his calendar app. Seoul Children's Hospital Charity Gala? Tomorrow, 7 p.m. Jae-woo sighed. He'd promised the board he'd make an appearance. JW Technologies' public image needed the boost after the recent controversy over working conditions in their Busan factory. A generous donation to sick children would help smooth things over. Just another business transaction. He drained his glass and moved to his desk, replacing thoughts of the past with numbers and projections. Work had always been his escape. Work never betrayed him. Work never left. Tell me, Mr. Park, his therapist had asked during one of the few sessions he'd attended after the divorce. What are you working toward? He hadn't had an answer then. 5 years later, surrounded by the fruits of his relentless labor, he still didn't. The rain continued its assault on the window as Jae-woo opened the first report, the glow of his computer screen casting harsh shadows across his tired face. Another sleepless night awaited him, filling the void with work that no longer brought satisfaction. Only distraction from the life he had lost and the man he had become. Success, he whispered to himself, the word hollow in the empty room. At what cost? Jae-woo adjusted his bow tie, uncomfortable despite the perfect fit of his tuxedo. These events drained him. The small talk, the posturing, the pretense that everyone cared about more than just being seen. Park Jae-woo, the man of the hour, boomed Chairman Lee, approaching with 2 champagne flutes. Your generous donation has set the tone for the evening. Jae-woo accepted the glass with a practiced smile. The Children's Hospital does important work. Indeed, indeed. Though I suspect the tax benefits don't hurt either. The older man winked conspiratorially. Before Jae-woo could respond, Chairman Lee was already waving to someone across the room. Ah, there's the culture minister. Must say hello. Enjoy the evening, my boy. Left alone again, Jae-woo scanned the room mechanically. His gaze passed over a woman in a simple navy blue evening gown, then snapped back with such force that champagne sloshed over his fingers. Couldn't be, but it was. Standing near the silent auction table, laughing softly at something her companion said, was Song Mina. 5 years had been kind to her. Her hair was shorter now, falling just past her shoulders in gentle waves. The severe corporate look she once adopted was gone, replaced by a natural elegance that made her stand out precisely because she wasn't trying to. His heart hammered against his ribs. Fight or flight instincts warred within him. Approach her or retreat to the safety of the corporate executives huddled near the bar. While he hesitated, Mina turned slightly, and their eyes met across the crowded room. Time suspended. The ambient chatter faded. For one electric moment, it was just the two of them, connected by an invisible thread of shared history that neither time nor legal proceedings had managed to sever completely. She didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. Something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, surprise, perhaps a shadow of the pain they'd once caused each other. Jae-woo found himself moving toward her before he'd consciously decided to. His legs carried him forward while his mind raced, searching for the right words after 5 years of silence. "Mina," he said simply when he reached her, his voice steadier than he felt. "Jae-woo." Her voice was softer than he remembered, or perhaps that was just the contrast with the noise around them. "I didn't expect to see you here. Corporate obligation," he replied automatically, then winced at how cold it sounded. "You look well." A small, reserved smile touched her lips. "Thank you. So do you, though?" She hesitated, then added quietly, "You look tired." The observation, so gentle yet so accurate, pierced through his carefully maintained facade. No one else would have noticed or dared to mention it. "I'm told that's the price of success." He attempted a light tone. Her companion, a distinguished older woman Jae-woo didn't recognize, tactfully excused herself. "Are you still at Seoul Medical Center?" he asked, grasping for safe conversation. "No, I moved to the Children's Hospital 3 years ago. I head the pediatric oncology department now." "Congratulations," he said, genuinely impressed. "You always were brilliant." An awkward silence fell between them. "And you?" she asked. "JW Technologies seems to be everywhere these days. Growing faster than I can keep up with sometimes," he admitted. The conversation felt surreal, polite, distant exchanges between two people who had once shared everything, who had once promised forever, who had once known each other's bodies, dreams, and fears better than their own. A waiter passed with a tray of champagne, and Jae-woo set down his half-empty glass to take a fresh one. As he did, he noticed Mina wasn't drinking. "Not partaking tonight?" he asked. "I'm on call tomorrow morning," she explained. "Early rounds." He nodded, remembering how seriously she took her responsibilities. It was something he had always admired about her, even when her dedication to her medical career had competed with his own workaholic tendencies. A photographer approached, asking to take Jae-woo's picture for the event press coverage. He reluctantly agreed, stepping away from Mina with an apologetic glance. As the camera flashed, he caught sight of Mina speaking with Dr. Park, the hospital's director. They seemed familiar with each other, comfortable. Mina laughed at something he said, a genuine laugh that made her eyes crinkle at the corners. The laugh Jae-woo once lived to elicit. "Mr. Park, could you move slightly to the left?" the photographer requested, recapturing his attention. When the photos were done, Jae-woo turned back toward where Mina had been standing, but she had disappeared into the crowd. A strange mix of relief and disappointment washed over him. He made his way to the bar, needing something stronger than champagne. As he waited for his whiskey, he overheard two women chatting nearby. "Dr. Song is so dedicated," one said. "I don't know how she manages the department and raises those twins on her own." Jae-woo's hand froze midway to accepting his drink. "The children are adorable," the other woman replied. "Those 4-year-olds have the entire hospital staff wrapped around their little fingers." The glass nearly slipped from his suddenly numb fingers. Twins? For years old? That last night together. The farewell neither had planned. The raw emotion that had overridden their better judgment after signing the divorce papers. One final connection before they became strangers again. "Sir? Your drink?" the bartender prompted. Jae-woo nodded mechanically, his throat too dry to speak. He took the glass but couldn't bring himself to drink, the amber liquid trembling with the unsteadiness of his hand. For years ago, twins, Mina. The sequence repeated in his mind like a broken record. He searched the crowded ballroom, scanning faces with newfound urgency. Mina had disappeared, but Dr. Park was still visible near the stage where the auction would soon begin. Moving with deliberate calm despite the chaos in his mind, Jae-woo approached the hospital director. The older man brightened at his approach. "Mr. Park, your generosity tonight is truly commendable. The new pediatric wing will—" "Dr. Park," Jae-woo interrupted, keeping his voice low. "Dr. Song Mina, I just spoke with her. We're old acquaintances." The director nodded. "Ah yes, she mentioned knowing you from before. One of our finest department heads, truly exceptional physician." "Yes," She always was, Jae-woo agreed, fighting to keep his tone casual. I heard someone mention she has children? Dr. Park's eyes lit up. Oh, the twins. Remarkable children. So bright and well-mannered. Hanbin is already showing interest in science. Follows his mother around asking 1,000 questions. And little Sumin has the most extraordinary artistic talent for a 4-year-old. Each word landed like a physical blow. Names. His children had names. Personalities. Talents. Lives that had been unfolding entirely without him. 4 years old. Jae-woo repeated, his voice hollow. Yes, just turned 4 last month. There was quite the celebration at the hospital. Mina brought cupcakes for the entire pediatric floor. Dr. Park chuckled. She's an exceptional mother. I don't know how she balances everything on her own, but she does it with such grace. On her own. The words escaped before Jae-woo could stop them. Dr. Park's expression shifted subtly, perhaps sensing he'd ventured into personal territory. Well, she has a supportive family, of course. Her parents help with childcare, I believe. He glanced at his watch. If you'll excuse me, the auction is about to begin. Left alone again, Jae-woo retreated to a quiet corner of the ballroom, his mind racing. The timing was undeniable. Those children, Hanbin and Sumin, were conceived during that last night with Mina, his children, his flesh and blood, growing up without him, perhaps not even knowing he existed. The realization struck him with physical force, and he leaned against the wall, struggling to maintain his composure. How could she keep this from him? What gave her the right to make that decision alone? Anger flared only to be quickly doused by guilt. Had he given her any reason to believe he would be a present father? Their marriage had crumbled precisely because he'd prioritized his company over everything else. Through the crowd, he caught a glimpse of Mina near one of the exits, speaking with a staff member. She was leaving early. Without thinking, he set down his untouched whiskey and moved toward her, weaving through clusters of guests who tried to engage him in conversation. Mina, he called out as she stepped into the hallway. She turned, surprise registering on her face as he approached. Are you leaving? He asked, though the answer was obvious. Yes, I have an early morning tomorrow. She shifted her small clutch purse from one hand to the other, a gesture he recognized from their marriage, a sign of discomfort. The twins must be waiting, he said quietly, watching her face carefully. The blood drained from her cheeks. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. The confirmation he needed was written in her speechless shock. Hanbin and Sumin, he continued, their names feeling foreign yet precious on his tongue. Our children. Mina glanced around the hallway, then pulled him aside into a small alcove away from passing guests. When she spoke, her voice was tight with controlled emotion. How did you find out? Does it matter? Were you ever going to tell me? Her eyes flashed. I tried, Jae-woo. I called your office a dozen times when I found out I was pregnant. Your assistant always said you were in meetings or abroad or unavailable. I left messages. You never called back. The accusation hit him like a physical blow. He vaguely remembered his assistant mentioning Mina's calls in those first few months after the divorce. He'd instructed her to take messages but had never returned them, assuming Mina wanted to discuss property or financial matters. The thought that she might have been calling about something so momentous had never crossed his mind. I didn't know, he whispered. You didn't want to know, she corrected him, her voice gaining strength. You made it very clear that your company was your priority. When I realized you weren't going to return my calls, I made a choice to protect my children from feeling like they were secondary in their father's life. Our children, he corrected instinctively. Mina's expression hardened. Biologically, yes, but where have you been for their first words? Their first steps? The nights Hanbin had ear infections so severe he couldn't sleep? The day Sumin fell and needed 3 stitches in her chin? Each question was a knife twisting in his gut. She was right and they both knew it. I want to see them, he said finally. Mina shook her head. It's not that simple, Jae-woo. You can't just waltz into their lives because you suddenly discovered their existence. They're not a business acquisition. They're my children, he insisted, a desperate edge creeping into his voice. They're little people with feelings and routines and a sense of security that I've worked incredibly hard to build. Mina's professional composure was cracking, emotion bleeding through. I won't let you disrupt that on a whim, only to disappear when your company needs you more. The accusation stung precisely because it echoed his own fears. Would he be any different as a father than he had been as a husband? I have rights, he said weakly. Mina's eyes softened fractionally. This isn't about legal rights, Jae-woo. It's about what's best for Hanbin and Sumin. She paused, seeming to consider her next words carefully. If you're serious, truly serious, about being part of their lives, then we can discuss it. But I need to know this isn't just shock or curiosity or guilt driving you. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and sighed. I have to go. My mother is with the children, and Sumin had a fever this morning. The simple statement, so ordinary yet so alien to his experience, drove home everything he had missed. Here, Mina said after a moment's hesitation. She opened her clutch and retrieved a business card, writing something on the back before handing it to him. My personal number. If you want to continue this conversation, call me next week. Not tomorrow, not the day after. Take some time to think about what you really want and what you're really prepared to give. Jae-woo took the card, their fingers brushing briefly. The familiar touch sent an electric current through him, a ghost of what once was. They have your eyes, Mina said suddenly, her voice softening. Hanbin has your stubborn expression when he's concentrating. Sumin tilts her head exactly the way you do when she's thinking. He'd canceled 3 appointments already, staring at Mina's number each time before losing his nerve. But today, seated in his car outside the children's hospital, he finally pressed call on the contact saved simply as Mina. Dr. Song, she answered, professional and distant. It's Jae-woo, he said unnecessarily, his mouth suddenly dry. A brief silence. I wondered if you'd call. I've thought about nothing else all week, he admitted. The usual careful filters he placed on his words seemed pointless now. Can we talk? In person. Another pause. I finish rounds at 3 p.m. today. There's a cafe across from the hospital, Rosewood Coffee. I can meet you there at 3:30. I'll be there, he promised, already checking his watch. 5 hours to wait. Jae-woo, she added before hanging up. Come alone. No lawyers. No corporate entourage. Just you. The call ended before he could respond. The cafe was half full, the mid-afternoon lull between lunch and after-work crowds. Jae-woo arrived 20 minutes early, selecting a table in the corner that offered some privacy. He'd left his usual suit jacket in the car, dressed only in slacks and a blue button-down with rolled sleeves, as close to casual as his wardrobe permitted. When Mina entered, her professional demeanor was still intact. White coat over a simple blouse and tailored pants, hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She scanned the room, finding him immediately, as if some invisible thread still connected them despite the years apart. She ordered at the counter before joining him, sliding into the chair across from him with composed grace. No coffee? He asked, noticing she'd only ordered tea. I limit my caffeine these days. It makes me too anxious, and the twins need me calm and present. She wrapped her hands around the warm mug. Thank you for respecting my request to come alone. Jae-woo nodded. I'm not here to threaten or intimidate you, Mina. I just want to understand everything. The barista delivered his Americano. When they were alone again, Mina took a deliberate breath. What do you want to know first? Why didn't you try harder to tell me? The question burst from him with more emotion than he'd intended. Beyond those phone calls, you could have come to the office, sent a letter, anything. Mina's eyes flashed. After you ignored 12 calls, I did go to your office. Your new assistant, the one after Ms. Jung, told me you'd given explicit instructions not to be disturbed by me, that any communication should go through our lawyers. Her voice remained level, but her knuckles whitened around her mug. I was already 3 months pregnant, emotional, sick every morning, and then to be treated like some kind of nuisance. Jae-woo winced. He remembered giving those instructions, wanting a clean break, believing it would be easier to move forward without reminders of what he'd lost. "I didn't know you were pregnant," he said weakly. "Would it have mattered?" Mina asked, the question hanging between them like a blade. "We both know what ended our marriage, Jae-woo. You chose your company over everything else. Over us. Over our future family. That's not fair," he started. But the protest died on his lips. Wasn't it exactly what he'd done? Prioritized quarterly reports over anniversary dinners? Taken calls during their rare vacations? Missed doctor's appointments after their first devastating miscarriage because he couldn't reschedule an investor meeting? Mina let the silence stretch before continuing. "After that humiliation at your office, I made a decision. I would raise these children in a home where they were the priority, where they would never question their value or importance. By erasing their father completely," he challenged. "By protecting them from disappointment." Her composure cracked momentarily, voice rising before she caught herself. A nearby patron glanced over, and Mina lowered her voice. "You have no idea what it's like to watch a child wait by the window for someone who never shows up. To see their face crumple when they realize they're less important than a meeting." The accusation stung precisely because he couldn't refute it. His own father had been the same, absent, remote, measuring love in financial provision rather than presence. "They don't know about me at all?" he asked quietly. Mina's expression softened slightly. "They know their father is a businessman, that we loved each other once but couldn't stay together. They're still young, Jae-woo. They don't ask many questions yet. Do you have a picture of them?" She hesitated, then reached for her phone. After a moment, she slid it across the table. Jae-woo's heart stuttered as he looked at the screen. Two small faces smiled back at him from what appeared to be a birthday party. The boy, Hanbin, had his square jaw and serious eyes, though he was grinning widely, a smear of frosting on his cheek. The girl, Sumin, had Mina's delicate features but his own dark, straight eyebrows. They were beautiful, perfect. His children, his vision blurred. He blinked rapidly, handing the phone back before he embarrassed himself completely. "I've missed everything," he said, the realization hitting him with physical force. "Yes," Mina agreed, not unkindly. "You have. I want to be in their lives," he said firmly. "I'm their father. Biology doesn't make you a father, Jae-woo. Presence does. Consistency does." She sighed. "What happens when they start to count on you, and then your company needs you in Singapore for 2 weeks? Or when Hanbin has a school performance the same day as your board meeting?" The questions weren't hypothetical. They were the exact scenarios that had fractured their marriage. "I'm different now," he insisted, though even to his own ears the claim sounded hollow. Mina raised an eyebrow. "Are you? Your company is bigger than ever. Your face was on the cover of Business Korea last month. The relentless innovator who never sleeps. That doesn't sound like a man who's reprioritized his life." Jae-woo opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. She was right. Despite the emptiness that had dogged him since their divorce, he doubled down on work, filling the void with more hours, more deals, more expansion. "I can change," he said eventually. "I want to change." Seeing that photo, knowing they exist, he struggled to articulate the seismic shift happening within him. "Mina, please, give me a chance to be their father. To be the father I should be." She studied him for a long moment, as if searching for something in his eyes. Whatever she saw made her sigh. "I won't introduce you as their father immediately," she said finally. "It would be too confusing, too sudden. You could meet them as a friend of mine. Someone who wants to get to know them." Hope surged through him. "When? Not so fast," she cautioned. "I need to see commitment first. Real change, not just promises." "Anything," he said immediately. "Whatever you need." Mina's lips curved in a sad smile. "That's exactly what you said when I told you I was pregnant the first time, before we lost the baby. You promised to cut back hours to be present. Within a month, you were back to 16-hour days. The reminder was like ice water. Their first pregnancy ended in miscarriage at 12 weeks. He'd held her while she cried, made fervent promises to be better, to be present, and then failed her completely when a major acquisition opportunity arose. "I was young and stupid," he said quietly. "I thought there would be time later for family. I didn't understand what I was losing until it was gone." Something in his tone must have reached her. Mina's clinical detachment faltered. "They're not a second chance for our marriage, Jae-woo," she said firmly. "If I let you into their lives, it's for them, not us. What we had is in the past." "I understand." The clarification hurt more than he expected, but he pushed the feeling aside. This wasn't about his feelings or lost opportunities. It was about two children who deserved to know their father, if he could prove worthy of the title. Mina glanced at her watch. "I need to pick them up from my mother soon." "What do I need to do?" he asked, unwilling to let her leave without clear direction. "To prove I'm serious?" She considered for a moment. "Start by examining your schedule. Make real changes, not just token gestures. Children need consistency, Jae-woo. They need to know they can count on the adults in their lives." He nodded, already mentally rearranging his calendar. "And," she added, "I want you to speak with someone, a family therapist. This isn't just about logistics. It's about understanding what these children need emotionally, and whether you're truly prepared to provide it." Under normal circumstances, Jae-woo would have bristled at such demands. Therapy wasn't something men in his position typically acknowledged needing. But the stakes were too high for pride. "I'll find someone this week," he promised. Mina nodded, seemingly satisfied with his response. She stood, gathering her coat and bag. "Call me in 2 weeks. We'll talk again then." As she turned to leave, Jae-woo called after her. "Mina." She paused, looking back. "Thank you for raising them so well, for being the parent I wasn't there to be." Something unreadable flickered across her face. Pain, perhaps, or a ghost of what they once shared. "They're the best parts of both of us," she said softly. "Try to become someone worthy of them." "You mentioned you're here because you recently discovered you have children," Dr. Kim prompted gently. She was in her 50s, with kind eyes that somehow made Jae-woo feel even more vulnerable. "4-year-old twins you didn't know existed until 2 weeks ago." "Yes." His voice sounded strange to his own ears. In boardrooms, his word was final, his tone commanding. Here he felt adrift. "Their mother, my ex-wife. She wants me to talk to someone before I meet them." "And how do you feel about that request?" Jae-woo shifted uncomfortably. Initially, frustrated, like I was being tested. But now, he gazed out at the rain. "Now I understand why. This isn't about me. It's about Hanbin and Sumin." Dr. Kim nodded, making a brief note. "Tell me about your relationship with your own father." The question caught him off guard. "I don't see how that's relevant." "Indulge me," she said with a small smile. Jae-woo sighed, running a hand through his immaculately styled hair, disheveling it slightly. "He was distant, successful businessman, provided well for us materially, never missed a tuition payment." His mouth twisted. "Also never made it to a single school event. I can count on one hand the meaningful conversations we had before he died. And yet you followed in his professional footsteps." It wasn't a question, but Jae-woo answered anyway. "I wanted to prove I could do it better, build something bigger." "And did you?" "The company?" "Yes. JW Technologies is 3 times the size my father's company ever was." "I meant, did you do it better, the whole package? Business success while maintaining personal connections." The question landed like a physical blow. Jae-woo stared at the rain-streaked window, memories washing over him. 5 years earlier, happy anniversary, Mina whispered, pressing a gentle kiss to his temple as sunlight filtered through their bedroom curtains. Jae-woo blinked awake, momentarily disoriented. "What time is it?" "Just after 7. She smiled, already dressed in the silk blouse he'd given her last Christmas. "I made breakfast. Real breakfast, not just coffee and protein bars." He groaned, reaching for his phone. 3 missed calls from the Shanghai office. Mina, I told you I have an early conference call today. The Chun acquisition. Her smile faltered. It's Saturday, Jae-woo. Our 3rd anniversary. The reservation at Mingle's is at 1. Remember? You promised we'd have the whole day. He sat up, already scrolling through emails. Something's gone wrong with the contract language. If we don't fix it before the markets open Monday. There's always something, Mina interrupted, her voice suddenly flat. She stood up from where she'd perched on the edge of the bed. 3 years of marriage, and there's always something more important. This is temporary, he insisted, not meeting her eyes. Once the company reaches a certain point. There is no certain point, Jae-woo. There's always another deal, another expansion, another crisis. Her voice cracked. We've been trying for a baby for a year. My doctor says stress might be affecting my fertility. I need my husband, not a ghost who comes home at midnight and leaves before dawn. The raw pain in her voice made him look up. She stood framed in the doorway, morning light creating a halo around her slender form, and for a moment, he saw their future slipping away. The breakfast will get cold, she said quietly. Join me if you can spare 15 minutes. Otherwise, I'll cancel the reservation. 3 months later, it's confirmed, Mrs. Park. You're pregnant. About 8 weeks along. Mina's hand flew to her mouth, tears filling her eyes. Are you sure? After trying so long, the doctor smiled, pointing to the monitor. See that flicker? That's your baby's heartbeat. Strong and regular. She turned to Jae-woo, radiant with joy. He squeezed her hand, his own vision blurring. They'd almost given up hope. I'll be better, he whispered as they left the clinic. I promise, Mina. I'll delegate more. Be home for dinner. We'll do this right. She leaned into him, hopeful despite their struggles. I just want us to be a real family, present for each other. We will be, he vowed. Everything changes now. 2 months later, the hospital corridor felt endless as Jae-woo ran, his heart pounding painfully against his ribs. He'd been in Tokyo when the call came, Mina, bleeding, being rushed to the emergency room. He found her in a private room, curled on her side, facing away from the door. The stillness of her body told him everything before the doctor pulled him aside to confirm what they already knew. The baby was gone. Mina, he whispered, approaching the bed cautiously. I'm so sorry. I got here as fast as I could. She didn't turn to face him. You weren't here, she said, her voice hollow. When it started, when I was scared, you were negotiating the Nakamura contract. I came as soon as I heard. 3 hours, she interrupted. It took 3 hours for your assistant to disturb you with the news that your wife was in the hospital losing our baby. The accusation hung in the air between them, impossible to deny or defend. The doctor said it wasn't because of anything we did, he offered weakly. These things just happen sometimes. Mina finally turned to face him, her eyes red-rimmed but dry, as if she had no tears left. It's not about why it happened, Jae-woo. It's about the fact that I went through it alone, just like everything else in our marriage. Present day, Mr. Park. Dr. Kim's voice pulled him back to the present. You seem far away. Jae-woo blinked, realizing his eyes had grown damp with the memories. I'm not better than my father, he admitted quietly. I might be worse. At least he never made promises he couldn't keep. Dr. Kim leaned forward slightly. The past doesn't have to dictate the future, Mr. Park. That's why we examine it, not to dwell in regret, but to identify patterns we want to change. I've built my entire identity around my company, he said, the realization painful in its clarity. I don't know how to be anything else. Perhaps that's the first thing to explore, she suggested. Before you can be a father to these children, you need to understand who Jae-woo is beyond the CEO. The session continued, uncomfortably revealing yet strangely cathartic. By the time Jae-woo stepped out into the rain-washed afternoon, something had shifted inside him, a willingness to examine truths he'd spent years avoiding. 2 weeks later, Jae-woo stood outside Mina's apartment building, heart racing. Their phone conversations had been cautiously optimistic. He'd made real changes, delegating more responsibility at work, restructuring his executive team, even declining a major acquisition opportunity that would have demanded months of his attention. Mina opened the door, dressed casually in jeans and a soft sweater, a far cry from either her professional attire or the elegant dresses she'd worn during their marriage. Suited her this relaxed confidence. "You came," she said, sounding faintly surprised despite their arrangements. "I said I would." He held up a bag from a local bakery. "I brought those red bean pastries you used to like." A flicker of something, recognition, perhaps nostalgia, crossed her face. "Come in. The twins are at my parents' for a few more hours. I thought we should talk privately first." Her apartment was modest but warm. Colorful children's artwork adorned the refrigerator. Small shoes lined up neatly by the door, toys organized in bins along one wall of the living room. So different from the minimalist luxury of their marital home. "How have your sessions with Dr. Kim been going?" Mina asked, pouring tea into simple ceramic mugs. "Illuminating. Difficult." Jae-woo accepted the tea with a grateful nod. "She doesn't let me hide behind corporate jargon or deflection." "Good." Mina settled across from him. "That's what you need." An awkward silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken history. "Why didn't you use the settlement money?" he asked suddenly. "You could have had a bigger place, help with the children, not worked such long hours." Mina's expression hardened slightly. "Because I didn't want to depend on you financially when you weren't present emotionally. I wanted to show the twins that their mother could stand on her own feet. It wasn't about punishing me." "Not everything is about you, Jae-woo," she said, but without malice. "It was about me, about who I needed to become for them." He nodded slowly, understanding flowering within him. The Mina before him wasn't the same woman he'd married. Softer in some ways, stronger in others. Motherhood had transformed her. "Tell me about them," he said quietly. "What they like, what scares them, who they are." Mina's face softened, maternal pride shining through her reserve. "Hanbin is serious, methodical. He lines up his toys in perfect rows and notices if anything is out of place. He loves dinosaurs and can name every single one, complete with whether they were carnivores or herbivores." Jae-woo smiled, recognizing his own childhood obsession with categorizing and organizing. "Sumin is our dreamer," Mina continued. "She makes up elaborate stories and insists on wearing mismatched socks because they get lonely for different friends. She's the first to comfort Hanbin when he's upset, but she also knows exactly how to provoke him." A fond smile played at her lips. "They're so different, yet completely connected. They have their own secret language sometimes, communicating with just looks." "They sound amazing," Jae-woo said softly, his chest aching with longing to know these little people who carried his DNA. "They are." Mina set down her mug, her expression growing serious. "Which is why I need to be absolutely certain about this, Jae-woo. They've been the center of my world for 4 years. I've protected them, nurtured them, built their sense of security brick by brick. If you enter their lives only to disappear when things get challenging—" "I won't," he interrupted, leaning forward. "Mina, I've restructured my entire company. I've appointed 2 co-COs to handle daily operations. For the first time since we divorced, I turned off my phone for an entire weekend." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I know words aren't enough. I know I've made promises before and broken them. But I'm asking for the chance to show them, that I can be the father they deserve." Mina studied him, searching his face for sincerity. Whatever she saw made her sigh softly. "We'll start slowly," she said finally. "You'll meet them as my friend first. Sunday afternoon in the park, just an hour. If that goes well, we can establish a regular schedule, but consistent, Jae-woo. Same day, same time, every week. Children need routine." "Anything," he agreed immediately. "Whatever you think is best." "And Jae-woo," her eyes held his unwavering. "Don't make me regret this. Don't make them pay for our mistakes." He changed his outfit 3 times that morning, finally settling on dark jeans and a casual blue button-down. Approachable yet still put together. In his hands, he clutched 2 small paper bags, each containing a carefully selected gift. At precisely 2 o'clock, he spotted them approaching from the park entrance. Mina held a child's hand in each of hers, walking at their meandering pace as they stopped to examine interesting rocks and sticks along the path. Seeing them in person rather than photos made his breath catch. They were so small, so perfect. Their faces animated as they chattered to their mother. The boy, Hanbin, walked with deliberate steps, while Sumin skipped and twirled alongside them. Mina caught sight of him and gave a small nod of acknowledgement. She bent down, speaking softly to the twins. They looked in his direction with undisguised curiosity. Jae-woo remained rooted to the spot, suddenly terrified. What if they didn't like him? What if he said the wrong thing? What if... "Hello," Mina said as they reached him, her voice carefully neutral. "Children, this is Mr. Park. He's a friend of mine." "Hello," Jae-woo managed, his voice hoarse with emotion. Hanbin regarded him with solemn eyes that were unmistakably like his own. "Are you Mommy's friend from the hospital?" "No," Jae-woo replied, finding his voice. "I've known your mother for a long time, though." Sumin tilted her head, studying him with uninhibited curiosity. "Your shoes are very clean," she observed. A startled laugh escaped him. "Thank you. I polished them specially for today." "Why?" she asked immediately. "Sumin," Mina gently admonished. "Remember what we said about too many questions at once?" The little girl nodded. "Sorry, but I still want to know why," she added, unrepentant. "Because I was nervous about meeting you," Jae-woo answered honestly, surprising himself. Sometimes when people are nervous, they focus on small details they can control. Hanbin's eyes widened slightly. "Like how I line up my dinosaurs by size when grandmother is late coming to pick us up?" Jae-woo felt a jolt of recognition. Exactly like that. A tentative connection formed, fragile as spun glass. "I brought something for each of you," he said, holding out the paper bags. "Your mother told me a little about what you like." Mina gave him a questioning look but didn't object as the children eagerly accepted the gifts. Hanbin carefully opened his bag first, methodically removing the tissue paper. His eyes widened as he pulled out a detailed model of a Parasaurolophus. "This is the one I don't have," he exclaimed, examining it from all angles. "Look, Mom. It has the right crest shape and everything." "It does," Mina agreed, her expression softening slightly at her son's delight. Sumin, meanwhile, had plunged her hand directly into her bag, extracting a set of mismatched socks. One patterned with stars, the other with moons. "They're different," she shrieked with joy. "And they're space. I love space. I thought they might like to make friends with your other mismatched socks," Jae-woo explained, relief washing through him at their reactions. Sumin beamed at him, then promptly sat on the ground and began removing her shoes. "I'm going to wear them right now." "Sumin, maybe later," Mina began. "It's okay," Jae-woo said. "Let me help her." He knelt beside the little girl, helping her with the laces she was struggling to untie. Her small hands beside his large ones created a tableau that made his chest tighten. Mina watched this interaction, something unreadable flickering in her eyes. "Thank you for the dinosaur, Mr. Park," Hanbin said formally, bowing slightly as Jae-woo had once been taught to do with adults. "You're very welcome. I had one just like it when I was your age." "Really?" The boy's reserved demeanor cracked slightly. "Did you like dinosaurs too?" "I had a whole collection," Jae-woo confirmed. "I knew all their scientific names." "Me too." Hanbin's excitement bubbled over. "This one is Parasaurolophus walkeri, and it lived in the late Cretaceous period, and it could make sounds through its crest like a trombone." The flood of information, delivered with such earnest enthusiasm, was so familiar it was like looking at a mirror to his past. This was his son, this serious, detail-oriented boy with encyclopedic knowledge of his passions. His son. "The playground isn't too crowded," Mina observed. "Shall we?" The twins needed no further encouragement, racing ahead toward the swings and slides. Jae-woo and Mina followed at a more measured pace. "How did you know?" she asked quietly. "About the dinosaur model and the socks?" "I paid attention when you talked about them," he replied simply. "And I may have called your mother." Mina's eyebrows shot up. "You called my mother? The woman who referred to you as that workaholic who broke my daughter's heart?" "It was an uncomfortable conversation," he admitted with a wry smile. "But worth it. She was cautiously helpful once I explained why I was asking." They reached the playground, where Hanbin was carefully arranging his dinosaur on a bench before approaching the climbing structure, while Sumin had already scaled to the highest platform, proudly displaying her mismatched socks to another little girl. "Be careful, Sumin," Mina called, maternal concern evident in her voice. "I'm being super-duper careful, Mommy," the little girl called back, proceeding to leap across a gap in the equipment that made Jae-woo's heart lurch. "She's fearless," he observed. "Terrifyingly so," Mina agreed. "She broke her arm 6 months ago trying to fly off the sofa. Didn't even cry until she saw how upset I was." They settled on a bench with a clear view of both. Children, close enough to intervene if needed but giving them space to play. "They're amazing," Jae-woo said softly. "You've done an incredible job, Mina." She accepted the compliment with a slight nod. "It hasn't been easy." Hanbin had colic for the first 3 months. He'd scream for hours every night. "My mother took Sumin some nights just so I could focus on soothing him." Her voice grew distant with memory. "There were times I was so exhausted I couldn't remember my own name." The admission sent a wave of guilt through him. While she'd been struggling with newborn twins, he'd been expanding JW Technologies into Southeast Asia, oblivious to the fact that his children even existed. "I should have been there," he said, the inadequacy of the words painfully apparent. Mina didn't agree or disagree, her eyes fixed on the twins. "We can't change the past, Jae-woo. All we can do is make better choices moving forward." Hanbin approached cautiously, eyeing the slide with slight trepidation. Sumin, noticing her brother's hesitation, climbed down from her perch and took his hand. "We can go together," they heard her say. "I'll sit behind you and hold on tight." The tenderness between the siblings made Jae-woo's throat constrict. "They protect each other," Mina explained, pride evident in her voice. "Hanbin checks under Sumin's bed for monsters every night, and she scares away the neighborhood kids who teased him about being too quiet. They have a bond one never had with anyone," Jae-woo admitted. "I was an only child, extremely lonely." Mina glanced at him, perhaps surprised by the personal revelation. "I didn't know that's how you felt growing up. You never talked about it." "There were many things I didn't know how to talk about." The honesty felt foreign but necessary. "I'm learning, though." With Dr. Kim, a small commotion drew their attention back to the playground. Hanbin had fallen from the bottom of the slide, more startled than hurt. Before either adult could reach him, Sumin was already there, helping him up and examining his scraped palm with exaggerated seriousness. "You need a Band-Aid and ice cream," they heard her diagnose solemnly. "That's what Mommy always says fixes owies." Hanbin's trembling lower lip steadied at his sister's prescription. "Chocolate ice cream? Double chocolate," Sumin confirmed as the adults reached them. Mina knelt beside Hanbin, examining the minor scrape. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" He nodded bravely. "Sumin says I need ice cream medicine." Mina shot her daughter an amused look. "Does she now?" "It's true," Sumin insisted. "You always say something sweet helps medicine go down." Jae-woo found himself saying, "There's an ice cream shop at the park entrance. If it's okay with your mother." 2 pairs of hopeful eyes turned to Mina, who relented with a small smile. "I suppose ice cream medicine might be necessary in this case." "I'll treat," Jae-woo offered, then hesitated, glancing at Mina. "If that's all right?" She nodded, her earlier guardedness softening slightly in the face of the children's excitement. As they walked toward the ice cream shop, Sumin impulsively reached for Jae-woo's hand, her tiny fingers wrapped around his with complete trust. sending a jolt of emotion through him so powerful he nearly stumbled. "You have big hands," she observed, swinging his arm. "Good for reaching high things." "They are," he agreed, his voice unsteady. "If you ever need something from a high shelf, I could help. Like the cookie jar at grandmother's house?" Her eyes lit with mischief. "She puts it way up high because she says we're cookie monsters." "Sumin," Mina warned, though her lips twitched with suppressed amusement. Hanbin, not to be outdone, moved closer to Jae-woo's other side, though he didn't take his hand. Instead, he looked up with solemn eyes. "Do you know about triceratops? They're my second favorite." "3 horns and a neck frill," Jae-woo replied promptly. "Very effective for defense against predators." Hanbin's face lit up at this correct answer, and he moved a fraction closer. At the ice cream shop, the twins deliberated with the seriousness of international peace negotiators before making their selections. Double chocolate for Hanbin, for medicine, and rainbow sherbet for Sumin, because my taste buds want to dance. They found a table outside. The children happily focused on their treats, while the adults watched in contented silence. "Mr. Park," Hanbin asked suddenly, chocolate smeared around his mouth. "Will you come to the park again?" The question, so innocent yet so loaded, hung in the air. Jae-woo looked to Mina, who gave a small nod. "I'd like that very much," he answered, a promise in his voice that extended far beyond park visits. "If it's okay with your mother, perhaps we could make it a regular thing." "Every Sunday?" Sumin suggested hopefully, rainbow colors staining her lips. "We'll see," Mina tempered, though her expression had softened considerably since their arrival. "Mr. Park is very busy." "Not too busy for this," Jae-woo stated firmly, the words a vow to the children, and to Mina, "Not anymore." As the afternoon drew to a close and they walked back toward Mina's car, the twins grew sleepy, the excitement of the day catching up with them. Hanbin clutched his dinosaur to his chest, while Sumin dragged her feet, yawning widely. Without thinking, Jae-woo lifted Sumin into his arms. She immediately rested her head on his shoulder, her small body trusting and warm against his chest. The scent of her hair, strawberry shampoo and sunshine, imprinted itself on his heart. "Tired," she mumbled against his neck. "I've got you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Mina watched this interaction, something shifting in her expression. For a moment, the years between them seemed to fall away, and they were just two parents caring for their children. At the car, he gently placed Sumin in her booster seat while Mina helped Hanbin with his buckle. "Thank you for today," he said quietly as the children dozed in the back seat. "For giving me this chance." Mina studied him for a long moment. "They liked you," she said finally. "Hanbin doesn't warm up to strangers easily, and the gifts were perfect." "Same time next Sunday?" he asked, hope evident in his voice. She nodded. "Same time." "But Jae-woo," her eyes held a warning. "This is just the beginning. The real test comes with consistency, with being there even when it's difficult or inconvenient." "I understand." He gazed at the sleeping children, his children, their peaceful faces imprinting on his soul. "I won't let them down. I won't let you down." As Mina's car pulled away, Jae-woo remained standing at the curb, the phantom weight of Sumin still in his arms, Hanbin's serious eyes still searching his. For the first time in years, perhaps for the first time ever, he felt the stirring of something genuine and uncomplicated, joy. Today marked a milestone, the first time Mina had agreed to let him take the twins alone, without her supervision. A vote of confidence that made his chest swell with pride and terror in equal measure. "Remember, Hanbin needs his inhaler if he starts breathing heavily," Mina reminded, handing over a small backpack covered in dinosaur prints. "And Sumin's sunscreen needs reapplication every 2 hours. She burns easily." "Inhaler for Hanbin, sunscreen for Sumin," Jae-woo repeated, committing the instructions to memory with the same focus he once reserved for quarterly projections. "I've got the schedule you sent. Science museum until noon, lunch at the cafe you recommended, then the park if weather permits." Mina nodded, but worry lingered in her eyes. "They've never been away from me for a full day. I'll take good care of them," he promised. "And I have you on speed dial." The twins burst from their bedroom, vibrating with excitement. Hanbin carried a small notebook labeled Museum Observations in his careful handwriting, while Sumin had adorned herself with star-shaped clips that were already slipping from her fine hair. "We're ready for our adventure with Mr. Park," Sumin announced, twirling dramatically. An unexpected pang shot through Jae-woo at the formal address. He was still Mr. Park to them, an adult friend of their mother's, not dad or even appa. Mina had been clear, no revelations about his true identity until they were certain this arrangement would last. "Is Mr. Park sleeping over tonight?" Hanbin asked innocently, adjusting his glasses. Mina stiffened. "No, sweetheart. Mr. Park will bring you home this evening. But Uncle Jisung sleeps over when he takes us places," Sumin pointed out, referencing Mina's younger brother. "That's different," Mina replied carefully. "Uncle Jisung is family." The comment hung in the air between the adults, a painful reminder of boundaries still firmly in place. Jae-woo cleared his throat. "Who's ready to see dinosaur bones?" "Me." Hanbin's eyes widened with delight. "Real fossilized remains from the Mesozoic era." "And the space exhibit," Sumin added, "with the anti-gravity chamber." "I think you mean the anti-gravity simulator," Hanbin corrected seriously. "That's what I said." Sumin insisted with the particular indignation only a 4-year-old could muster. Jae-woo smiled at their bickering, already familiar with the pattern. "We'll see both. Now, should we get going?" Final reminders exchanged and goodbyes said, Jae-woo found himself leading 2 small children toward his car, where booster seats had been professionally installed the day before. "Your car is fancy," Hanbin observed as Jae-woo helped him with his seatbelt. "Too fancy," Sumin declared, wrinkling her nose. "It doesn't have any personality." Jae-woo laughed, surprised. "What kind of personality should a car have?" "Colors, and stickers, and a name." She looked at him as if this were obvious. "Our car is called Turtle because Mom says it's slow but reliable." "Well, what should we name my car then?" he asked, sliding into the driver's seat. The twins conferred in exaggerated whispers. "Penguin," they decided in unison. "Penguin?" Jae-woo questioned, adjusting his rearview mirror to see their faces. "Why penguin?" "Because it's black and white and looks very serious," Hanbin explained logically. "But can probably swim really good in the rain," Sumin added. Something about their reasoning, the blend of Hanbin's pragmatism and Sumin's imagination, struck Jae-woo as perfectly representative of how they completed each other, how they might complete him if he let them. "Penguin it is," he agreed solemnly, starting the engine. The Science Museum bustled with weekend visitors, but Jae-woo had arranged VIP passes that allowed them to bypass the main lines. Hanbin clutched his notebook, methodically recording facts about each exhibit, while Sumin raced from display to display, her enthusiasm infectious. "Look, Mr. Park," Hanbin called, pointing to a massive Tyrannosaurus skeleton. The placard says the specimen has unusual wear patterns on the teeth indicating it might have had a different diet than other T-Rexes. "That's fascinating," Jae-woo replied, genuinely impressed by the boy's observation skills. "What do you think it might have eaten?" Hanbin's face scrunched in concentration. "Maybe more bones than other T-Rexes? That would cause different wear patterns." "That's an excellent hypothesis," Jae-woo praised, watching his son's face light up at the validation. A sudden realization of absence made him stiffen. "Where's Sumin?" Hanbin looked around, unconcerned. "Probably at the touch pool again. She likes to feel the starfish." Panic surged through Jae-woo. He'd lost sight of her for less than a minute, but visions of a child disappearing in the crowded museum flooded his mind. He took Hanbin's hand firmly. "Let's find your sister." They moved quickly through the exhibit, Jae-woo's heart pounding, until he spotted a familiar set of star-shaped hair clips by the marine touch pool. Relief washed over him, followed immediately by concern at Sumin's posture. She was half climbing into the shallow pool, reaching for something beyond the permitted touching area. Zoom in, he called sharply, hurrying over. She looked up, innocent surprise on her face. Mr. Park, look what I found. In her small palm lay a coin, gleaming wet from the pool. It's underwater treasure. You shouldn't take things from the exhibit, he explained, gently but firmly. And climbing into the pool is dangerous. You could slip and hurt yourself. Her lower lip trembled slightly. But it's just a coin someone dropped. Even so, we need to respect the museum rules, he said, kneeling to her level. Can you put it back, please? For a moment, he thought she might refuse, her expression hovering between defiance and tears. Then, with a dramatic sigh worthy of a Shakespearean actor, she dropped the coin back into the water. Thank you for understanding, he said, relief evident in his voice. Han Bin, who had been watching this exchange carefully, offered, the space exhibit opens in 7 minutes. We should queue now to be first in line. Jae-woo checked his watch, impressed by the boy's timing. You're absolutely right. Shall we? Crisis averted, they made their way to the space exhibition. Jae-woo kept a closer eye on Soo-min, occasionally catching her hand when she showed signs of wandering. The morning flowed into afternoon, punctuated by moments that caught Jae-woo's breath. Han Bin's expression of pure concentration as he carefully wrote observations in his notebook. Soo-min's squeal of delight when the anti-gravity simulator made her feel weightless. The way they automatically reached for each other when momentarily uncertain in a new environment. At lunch, Jae-woo watched them eat, marveling at their distinct personalities even in this simple activity. Han Bin methodically separated each component of his meal before eating them in a specific order. Soo-min created elaborate stories with her food before consuming it, turning cucumber slices into spaceships and rice into alien landscapes. Is mommy your girlfriend? Soo-min asked suddenly, midway through transforming a tomato slice into what she declared was the red planet of doom. Jae-woo nearly choked on his water. No, he managed after a moment. Your mother and I are friends. But you look at her like Uncle Jasung looks at his girlfriend, Han Bin observed with disconcerting perception. With extra attention. Jae-woo felt heat rise to his face. Did he still look at Mina that way? He'd thought he'd mastered his expressions around her. Your mother and I have known each other for a long time, he said carefully. We care about each other as friends. Were you friends before we were born? Soo-min pressed, abandoning her food narrative. The question teetered dangerously close to territory Mina had explicitly asked him not to enter. He chose his words with deliberate care. Yes, we knew each other before you were born. Did you know us when we were babies? Han Bin asked, his analytical mind connecting dots. Jae-woo's chest tightened. No, he answered honestly. I was away for work. I met you when you were already 4. That's now, Soo-min pointed out helpfully. We're 4 now. Yes, he agreed, emotion thickening his voice. And I'm very happy to know you now. Han Bin, seemingly satisfied with this answer, returned to his methodical eating. But Soo-min continued to study Jae-woo with curious eyes. You have the same eyebrows as Han Bin, she observed suddenly. All straight and serious. The innocent observation landed like a physical blow. Jae-woo froze, unsure how to respond without revealing too much. Lots of people have similar features, he managed finally. It's just coincidence. Mommy says there are no coincidences, Han Bin contributed. Only patterns we haven't recognized yet. The wisdom, so casually repeated from Mina's teachings, made Jae-woo wonder how many other connections the perceptive children might be forming. Children saw truth more clearly sometimes, unburdened by adult complexities. Your mother is very wise, he said softly. Are you wise too? Soo-min asked, head tilted. No, he answered with unexpected honesty. I'm still learning. Sometimes from your mother, sometimes from you too. This answer seemed to satisfy her, and she returned to her elaborate food narrative. The afternoon sun warmed the playground as the twins released their pent-up energy after the structured museum visit. Jae-woo sat on a bench, watching them navigate the equipment with growing confidence. His phone vibrated. A text from Mina. How is everything going? He smiled, typing quickly, "Wonderful. Museum was a hit." Hanbin filled 3 notebook pages with observations. Sumin tried to recover underwater treasure from the touch pool. Both ate well at lunch, now burning energy at the playground. The typing indicator appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. "They've been asking questions, haven't they?" Jaewoo's eyebrows rose at her perception. "Yes, perceptive ones. I maintained our agreement." Another pause, then, "They've been connecting dots for weeks." Hanbin asked why you have the same laugh as him. Sumin wondered why you both like your noodles the same way. His heart raced at the implications. Before he could respond, another text arrived. "We should talk tonight, after they're asleep." Simple words that carried weighted possibility. "I'll be there." He slipped the phone back into his pocket, watching his children play with newfound intensity. Hanbin had organized several other children into what appeared to be a dinosaur migration simulation, while Sumin performed elaborate jumps from the play structure, narrating her own superhero adventure. When it was time to leave, they protested with the universal reluctance of children enjoying themselves, but eventually acquiesced when reminded they could tell their mother about their day. The drive home was quieter, both children fighting drowsiness after their busy day. "Mr. Park." Hanbin's voice came softly from the back seat. "Yes." Jaewoo glanced in the rearview mirror, seeing the boy's serious expression. "Thank you for taking us to see the dinosaurs." "You're very welcome." "And Mr. Park?" This time it was Sumin, her voice sleepy. "Yes, Sumin. I wish you could be our daddy," she murmured, eyes already closing. "You're good at listening and you smell nice." The words pierced straight through to his heart, rendering him momentarily speechless. In the rearview mirror, he saw Hanbin reach across to take his sister's hand, a gesture of silent agreement. For the remainder of the drive, Jaewoo blinked back tears, his vision of the road occasionally blurring. By the time he pulled up to Mina's apartment building, both children were asleep. Mina came down to help transfer them from the car. As they carried their sleeping children, Sumin in Jaewoo's arms, Hanbin in Mina's, neither spoke, but a current of understanding passed between them. Once the twins were settled in their beds, Mina led him to the small balcony, closing the door quietly behind them. The city lights stretched before them, a constellation of human existence against the darkening sky. "They had a wonderful day?" Jaewoo said softly. Mina nodded, her profile illuminated by the gentle glow from inside. "They couldn't stop talking about you all week. When is Mr. Park coming? Will Mr. Park like my new drawing? Does Mr. Park know about black holes?" Pride and longing twisted together in his chest. Sumin said something just before she fell asleep in the car. He began hesitantly. "That she wishes you were their father." Mina finished for him, turning to meet his gaze. "Hanbin asked me last week why you couldn't live with us. Said it would be more efficient for family activities." The term family activities hung between them, laden with meaning. "Mina," Jaewoo said carefully, "I've kept my promise. 3 months of consistency. No missed Sundays, no work emergencies taking precedence. I've been present not just physically but emotionally. I've continued therapy. I've restructured my entire company to prioritize what truly matters." She studied him, her expression soft yet guarded. "I've seen the changes, Jaewoo. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't impressed. You've become different, more like the man I thought I was marrying, before ambition consumed you." Hope flared within him. The children deserve to know the truth. They're already piecing it together. "And if we tell them, and 6 months from now you decide corporate life is more fulfilling than fatherhood?" Mina challenged, though her tone lacked its former bitterness. "They would be devastated in a way they aren't equipped to process." "That won't happen," he stated with quiet certainty. "Nothing in my life has ever been more fulfilling than being with them, than watching Hanbin's mind work through problems, than hearing Sumin's laughter, than feeling their small hands in mine." His voice broke slightly. "I can't lose them again, Mina. I can't lose what I never knew I had." She turned away, gazing out at the city lights. There would need to be legal arrangements, formal recognition of paternity, child support, visitation schedules. Whatever you want, he agreed immediately. Whatever protects them. Mina was silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. And us? What about us, Jae-woo? The question caught him off guard. They had been so focused on his relationship with the children that their own complex history had remained an unaddressed undercurrent. I don't expect anything, he said carefully. You've built a life without me. You're an incredible doctor, an amazing mother. You don't need me. Need? No, she acknowledged, turning to face him fully. But these past months, watching you with them, seeing you change, becoming the man I always believed you could be, she hesitated. It's awakened feelings I thought long buried. Jae-woo's heart hammered against his ribs. Mina, I'm not saying I want to rush back into anything, she clarified quickly. But I'm not opposed to exploring possibilities. Slowly, for the children's sake, and perhaps for our own. The revelation stunned him. He'd been so focused on earning the right to be in his children's lives that he hadn't dared hope for more. I would like that, he said softly. Very much. A comfortable silence settled between them, filled with unspoken possibilities. So, Mina said eventually, we tell them. Together. This weekend. Jae-woo nodded, emotion making speech difficult. Together. As they stood side by side on the small balcony, the space between them seemed less like a divide and more like a path waiting to be crossed. Behind them, their children slept peacefully, unaware that their innocent observations and uncomplicated love had begun to heal wounds 5 years in the making. Are you sure we're doing this right? He asked, his voice betraying his nervousness. Maybe we should have consulted with Dr. Kim first. Mina cracked eggs into a bowl, her movements precise. We discussed this with Dr. Kim last week. Remember what she said. Children appreciate honesty delivered with love and appropriate to their understanding. But what if they're angry? What if they feel deceived? The questions that had kept him awake most of the night spilled out. Mina paused her whisking, meeting his eyes. They might be confused, even upset initially. That's normal. But they're remarkably resilient, Jae-woo. And they already adore you. Before he could respond, the patter of small feet announced the twins' arrival. They appeared in matching pajamas. Dinosaurs for Hanbin, stars for Sumin, hair mussed from sleep, eyes widening at the sight of him. Mr. Park, Sumin exclaimed, launching herself at him with typical exuberance. You're here for breakfast. Is it Sunday already? Jae-woo caught her, settling her on his lap with practiced ease. No, it's Saturday. I came for a special breakfast with all of you. Hanbin approached more cautiously, his analytical mind clearly processing this deviation from routine. Is something wrong? Adults usually have special talks when something's wrong. Mina and Jae-woo exchanged glances. The boy's perception was uncanny. Nothing's wrong, Mina assured him, helping him into his chair. But we do have something important to tell you both after breakfast. Is it a surprise? Sumin asked, bouncing on Jae-woo's knee. I love surprises. It's information, not a present, Hanbin corrected seriously, already reaching for his cup of juice. Breakfast proceeded with the usual mixture of Sumin's chatter and Hanbin's thoughtful observations. Jae-woo found himself cataloging every detail. The way Hanbin precisely cut his pancakes into equal sections, how Sumin drowned hers in syrup despite Mina's protests, the comfortable chaos of family breakfast that had been absent from his life for too long. When the plates were cleared, Mina nodded to him. It was time. Shall we go sit in the living room? She suggested to the twins. Mr. Park and I want to talk to you about something important. They settled on the sofa, the children between the adults, an unconscious family portrait. Jae-woo's heart hammered against his ribs. After all these months of preparation, of therapy sessions and legal consultations, the moment had arrived. Hanbin, Sumin, Mina began gently. Do you remember how we've talked about different kinds of families? How Jiho has 2 mommies, and Eunji lives with her grandmother. The twins nodded, faces serious at their mother's tone. And you know that in our family it's been just the three of us, you two and me, since you were born, she continued. And grandmother, Hanbin added helpfully, and Uncle Jasung sometimes. Yes, they're our extended family, Mina agreed. But today we want to talk to you about someone else who is part of our immediate family. She glanced at Jae-woo, a silent handover. He took a deep breath, grateful for the hours of preparation with Dr. Kim. Children, he began, his voice steadier than he expected. I'm not just your mother's friend. I'm your father. Silence greeted his words. Sumin's eyes widened almost comically, while Hanbin's brow furrowed in concentration. You're our daddy? Sumin finally whispered, the question hanging in the air. Yes, he answered, emotion making his voice rough. I'm your father, your appa. Hanbin's analytical mind was clearly working overtime. But where were you? Fathers are supposed to live with their children. The simple question cut deeper than any accusation. Jae-woo met the boys, his sons, questioning gaze directly. You're right, Hanbin. Fathers should be with their children. I wasn't there when you were born or when you were babies, and that was a terrible mistake. Were you lost? Sumin asked, trying to make sense of his absence. Mina intervened gently. Your father and I were married a long time ago before you were born. But we separated, and when that happened, I didn't tell him about you. Hanbin's eyes narrowed. You kept us a secret? The accusation in his tone made Mina flinch slightly. I did, and that wasn't right. Parents should be honest with each other, especially about important things like children. And when I found out about you, Jae-woo continued, I came right away. That's why we met at the park that first day. So you didn't know we existed? Sumin asked, her face scrunched in confusion. No, I didn't, Jae-woo admitted, the words still painful to speak aloud. If I had known, I would have been here from the beginning. Hanbin, ever methodical, was processing this information piece by piece. So when we met you at the park, you were just finding out you're our father? Yes, Jae-woo confirmed. I wanted to get to know you first, to make sure I could be a good father before we told you the truth. Sumin's face suddenly lit up. That's why I said you smell nice like a daddy should. I knew it. She turned to her brother triumphantly. I told you he seemed like a daddy. Despite the tension, Mina's lips quirked in a small smile at her daughter's enthusiasm. Hanbin wasn't so easily distracted. Why didn't you stay married to Mom? He asked directly, his serious eyes fixed on Jae-woo, the question they'd prepared for, yet still so difficult to answer. I made mistakes, Jae-woo said honestly. I worked too much. I didn't listen enough. I didn't understand what was truly important. Like how you tell us that sharing toys is more important than having all the toys to yourself? Sumin asked. Very similar, Jae-woo agreed, surprised by her insight. I was too focused on work, on having all the toys, as you put it, and not enough on family. Hanbin was quiet, processing. Then he asked the question Jae-woo had most feared. Are you going to leave again? No, Jae-woo stated firmly, looking from Hanbin to Sumin and back. I'm your father, and I will be your father forever. Nothing will change that. I've reorganized my entire life so I can be here for you. For school events and bedtime stories and Sunday adventures. For everything. Will you live with us now? Sumin asked hopefully. In my books, daddies live with the family. Mina and Jae-woo exchanged glances. They had anticipated this question as well. Not right now, Mina explained gently. Your father will still live in his apartment, and you'll have your own rooms there for when you visit him. We're going to take things slowly, like an experiment. Hanbin nodded, the scientific approach comforting to him. To see what variables work best. Jae-woo smiled at the boy's terminology. Something like that, yes. So I can call you Appa now instead of Mr. Park? Sumin asked, already testing the word on her tongue. Appa, Appa, Appa. The sound of that word, so simple, so profound, brought unexpected tears to Jae-woo's eyes. He nodded, not trusting his voice. Hanbin remained quiet, his expression thoughtful. Finally, he looked up at Jae-woo. I'd like to continue my observations before I decide what to call you. The formal statement, so characteristic of the serious child, both broke and warmed Jae-woo's heart. I understand and respect that, Hanbin. Mina smoothed Hanbin's hair gently. You can take all the time you need, sweetheart. There's no rush. Sumin, however, had fully embraced the revelation. She scrambled onto Jae-woo's lap, placing her small hands on his cheeks. I knew you were special, she declared. Now you're officially my appa. She pressed her forehead against his in a gesture of intimacy that made his breath catch. Yes, he whispered, wrapping his arms around her small frame. I am officially your appa. Hanbin watched this exchange, then slowly slid off the couch. I need to update my family tree drawing for school, he announced practically. It was incomplete. As he left the room to retrieve his art supplies, Mina called after him. Are you okay, Hanbin? Do you have questions? I'm processing, he replied seriously, disappearing into his bedroom. Mina sighed, meeting Jae-woo's concerned gaze over Sumin's head. He needs time, she murmured. He processes emotions through activities. The family tree is his way of integrating this information. Sumin, still on Jae-woo's lap, was examining his face with intense concentration. You have the same eyebrow wrinkle as Hanbin when you're thinking, she observed, and your ears stick out a little like mine do. She pushed her hair back to demonstrate the similarity. That's because children inherit features from their parents, Jae-woo explained, marveling at the genetic echoes he could now openly acknowledge. What else did I get from you? She asked eagerly. Mina laughed softly. Your persistence, certainly, and your ability to convince people to give you what you want. Is that a superpower? Sumin asked seriously. Sometimes it feels that way, Jae-woo admitted with a chuckle. Hanbin returned with his art supplies and a serious expression. He spread his materials on the coffee table and began working meticulously on a new family tree, carefully erasing his previous work and starting fresh. Do you need help? Jae-woo offered tentatively. Hanbin considered the question with characteristic thoroughness. I need information, he decided. What are my grandparents' names? From your side. The simple question, so normal, yet so profound, made Jae-woo realize how much family history the twins had been missing. My father's name is Park Sung-ho, and my mother is Park Mi-ja, he answered. They live in Busan now. They don't know about you yet, but they will be overjoyed to meet you. More grandparents, Sumin marveled. Do they give good presents? Sumin, Mina chided gently, though her lips twitched with amusement. They would give you the world, Jae-woo said softly. Just as I would. Hanbin carefully printed the names on his diagram. Do you have siblings? We need collateral relatives for completeness. I'm an only child, Jae-woo replied, but I have cousins you haven't met yet. More family, Hanbin muttered, adjusting his diagram. Very complex. For the next hour, the family remained in the living room, Hanbin methodically updating his family tree with Jae-woo's information, Sumin alternating between helping her brother and asking increasingly detailed questions about Jae-woo's life, preferences, and memories. Finally, Hanbin sat back, examining his work. It's more balanced now, he declared with satisfaction. Jae-woo peered at the drawing. Where once there had been a lopsided tree with branches only on Mina's side, now there was symmetry, both maternal and paternal lineages extending outward from the central figures of Hanbin and Sumin. It's perfect, Jae-woo said, emotion thick in his voice. Hanbin looked up at him, his serious eyes evaluating. I think, he said carefully, I would like to try calling you Appa too, as part of my observations. The simple statement, delivered with such characteristic precision, broke something open in Jae-woo's chest. I would like that very much, he managed. Appa, Hanbin tested, watching Jae-woo's reaction closely. It fits better than Mr. Park. Group hug, Sumin declared, throwing her arms around her brother. Family hug with Appa and Mom. Mina and Jae-woo exchanged glances, hers cautiously optimistic, his overwhelmed with gratitude, before joining their children in an embrace that felt like coming home after a very long journey. That evening, after a day filled with questions, explanations, and the beginnings of new family rituals, Jae-woo found himself invited to participate in the bedtime routine. He sat on the edge of Sumin's bed, a storybook open on his lap, while Mina helped Hanbin organize his dinosaur collection for the night. "Will you still come on Sundays?" Sumin asked, her eyes already heavy with sleep. "Every Sunday," Jae-woo promised. "And other days too, when you want me to be here." She yawned widely. "I want you here all the days. We're taking things step by step," he reminded her gently. "Remember what Mom explained?" She nodded sleepily. "Like a science experiment." "Exactly." He leaned down to kiss her forehead, the gesture still new but feeling increasingly natural. "Good night, my little star." "Good night, Appa," she murmured, the words still filling him with wonder each time he heard it. He moved to Hanbin's bed next, where the boy was arranging his dinosaurs in evolutionary order. "Would you like me to read to you as well?" Jae-woo offered. Hanbin considered this. "I'm reading chapter books now," he stated, a hint of pride in his voice. "But maybe you could listen to me read one page to assess my progress." Jae-woo recognized the request for what it was, Hanbin's way of connecting while maintaining his independence. "I would be honored," he replied seriously. Hanbin carefully selected a book about prehistoric oceans and read a page describing plesiosaurs, his finger tracking each word with precision. Jae-woo listened intently, marveling at his son's advanced reading skills. "That was excellent," he praised when Hanbin finished. "Your pronunciation of the scientific names was perfect." Hanbin allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. Then, setting the book aside, he asked the question that had clearly been weighing on him all day. "Are you and Mom going to get married again?" The directness of the question caught Jae-woo off guard. From the doorway, where Mina had been watching their interaction, came a small intake of breath. "We don't know yet," Jae-woo answered honestly, remembering Dr. Kim's advice about appropriate truths. "Right now, we're focusing on being good parents to you and Sumin. Adults sometimes need time to figure out their relationships." Hanbin nodded, processing this information. Logical approach, gathering data before forming conclusions. Jae-woo smiled at the boy's analytical framework. "Exactly. Very scientific of you. I hope the data indicates a positive outcome," Hanbin said seriously as he settled back against his pillows. "Statistical analysis suggests children benefit from cohesive family structures." The sophisticated sentiment from such a young child made both adults exchange surprised glances. "We'll take that under advisement," Jae-woo replied, matching his son's formal tone while gently tucking the blanket around him. "Good night, Hanbin." A moment of hesitation. Then, "Good night, Appa." The word, delivered with Hanbin's characteristic careful consideration, filled Jae-woo with profound joy. He bent to kiss his son's forehead, then stepped back to allow Mina her turn at goodnight rituals. In the hallway outside the twins' bedroom, he leaned against the wall, overwhelmed by the emotional intensity of the day. When Mina emerged a few minutes later, closing the door softly behind her, she found him still there, eyes closed, breathing deeply. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. He opened his eyes, meeting her concerned gaze. "Better than okay. Just processing, as Hanbin would say." She smiled at that. "He's so much like you, sometimes it's startling. The way he analyzes everything, builds mental frameworks. And Sumin has your boundless energy, your ability to connect with people instantly," he observed, following her to the living room. They settled on opposite ends of the sofa, a respectful distance between them that somehow felt smaller than it had before. "They took it well," Mina said after a moment. "Better than I expected, honestly. Hanbin will have more questions as he processes," Jae-woo predicted. "But yes, it went remarkably well. Children are resilient," she murmured, "and they've wanted you in their lives from the beginning, even before they knew who you really were." The weight of those lost years pressed on him momentarily. "I missed so much," Their first words, first steps. But you're here now, Mina reminded him gently. And you've proven yourself committed. He nodded, grateful for her understanding. Then, remembering Hanbin's question, he asked, "What should we tell them about us?" "About the future." Mina's expression grew thoughtful. "The truth as we know it now, that we're taking things slowly, focusing on them first." "And us?" he ventured carefully. "Is there an us beyond co-parenting?" She held his gaze steadily. "I think there could be, eventually, the man you've become over these months. Patient, attentive, willing to do the hard work of growth. He's someone I could see a future with." The quiet admission sent hope coursing through him. "I'd like that opportunity," he said softly, "to show you who I've become, who I'm still becoming. One step at a time," she reminded him, though her smile held promise. "One step at a time," he agreed. As he prepared to leave later that evening, plans made for the twins' first overnight visit to his apartment the following weekend, Jae-woo felt a profound sense of rightness, as if the scattered pieces of his life were finally finding their proper alignment. Hanbin's updated family tree sat on the coffee table, a visual representation of what had been accomplished today. Broken connections restored, missing branches reattached, a family made whole not through perfection, but through honesty, effort, and love. Outside in the cool night air, Jae-woo paused to look up at the apartment windows where his children now slept. His children, who knew him now as Appa, the title he'd never known he wanted, now the one he valued above all others. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new questions to answer, new patterns to establish. But tonight, for the first time in his life, Jae-woo understood what true success meant, and it had nothing to do with corporate acquisitions or profit margins. It was measured in the sound of his children's laughter, in Hanbin's solemn Appa, in Sumin's exuberant hugs, in the possibility of a renewed connection with the woman he'd never stopped loving, even when he'd forgotten how to show it. "Can we put the star on top yet, Appa? Can we?" she asked for the 5th time in as many minutes. "Not yet, little star," he answered patiently. "First the lights, then the ornaments, and the star is always last. That's the tradition." "But why?" she pressed, tilting her head in the way that reminded him so much of Mina. "Because the star is special," Hanbin answered before Jae-woo could, his tone matter-of-fact as he carefully sorted ornaments by color and size. "It represents the Star of Bethlehem that guided the wise men. It's the culmination of the decorative process." Jae-woo smiled at his son's precise explanation. "That's exactly right. How did you know that?" Hanbin shrugged. "I researched Christmas traditions last week. The internet has very comprehensive information." "Of course you did," Jae-woo said fondly, ruffling the boy's hair. 6 months into fatherhood, he still marveled at the way Hanbin's mind worked, so similar to his own, yet with an innocence and wonder he had lost somewhere along the way. "Mom says the star means hope," Sumin added, unwinding the lights with more enthusiasm than skill. "Hope because even in the darkest times, there's always a light to follow." The simple wisdom in her words caught Jae-woo off guard. "Your mother is very wise," he said softly. "When is she coming?" Hanbin asked, glancing at the clock with his characteristic precision. "She said 5 o'clock, and it's already 4:43. "She'll be here soon," Jae-woo assured him. She texted that she was picking up the cake first. This was to be their first Christmas celebration as a reconnected family. Not on the actual day, which was still a week away, but a special early celebration for just the 4 of them. Jae-woo had spent days preparing, wanting everything to be perfect. The doorbell rang, sending Sumin into a flurry of excitement. "She's here. She's here." She dropped the lights and raced toward the door. "Careful with the lights," Hanbin called after his sister, hurrying to rescue the tangled strands. Jae-woo opened the door to find Mina on his doorstep, snowflakes caught in her hair like tiny stars, cheeks flushed from the cold. She balanced a bakery box in her hands, her expression softening as Sumin crashed into her legs. "Careful, sweetheart," she laughed. "You'll make me drop the cake." Jae-woo took the box from her hands. "Let me help you with that," he said, their fingers brushing briefly in the exchange. Even now, months into their careful reconciliation, such moments sent currents of awareness through him. Mina unwound her scarf as she entered, taking in the half-decorated apartment with appreciation. "This looks wonderful already," she said, admiring the garlands he had strung along the walls and the collection of handmade paper snowflakes that the twins had created during their last visit. "We're doing the tree now," Sumin announced, "and Appa says we have to wait to put the star on last because of traditions and culminations. Very important to follow the proper order." Mina agreed solemnly, though her eyes twinkled with amusement as they met Jae-woo's. For the next hour, the four of them worked together decorating the tree, Hanbin methodically placing ornaments with careful consideration of color balance and spacing, Sumin enthusiastically clustering several in the same spot until Mina gently redistributed them, Jae-woo lifting the children to reach higher branches. The apartment filled with laughter and chatter, Christmas music playing softly in the background. "This is how it's supposed to be," Sumin declared suddenly, pausing in her decorating. "All of us together." A loaded silence followed her innocent observation, the adults exchanging glances over the children's heads. Their relationship had evolved slowly over these months, weekly family outings, co-parenting discussions that gradually shifted into more personal conversations, dinners that extended long after the children were in bed. But they had been careful, mindful of the twins' hope for a fairy tale reunion. "It is nice all being together," Mina acknowledged diplomatically. "Now who's hungry? I thought we could have dinner before cake." Jae-woo was grateful for her redirect. "I made japchae," he said, "with extra mushrooms, just how Hanbin likes it." "You remembered," Hanbin said with quiet pleasure. "Of course," Jae-woo responded. "I remember everything important about my children." The look of satisfaction on Hanbin's face was worth every moment spent mastering the dish that had previously been outside his limited cooking repertoire. As they settled around the dining table, a larger one Jae-woo had purchased specifically to accommodate family meals. The conversation flowed naturally. The twins shared stories from school. Mina discussed her latest photography project, and Jae-woo talked about his reduced work schedule, carefully arranged to prioritize family time. "Will Santa bring presents to both houses?" Sumin asked suddenly between bites. The question took both parents by surprise. "Well," Mina began carefully, "Santa knows that you spend time at both homes, so I'm sure he'll make arrangements accordingly. But where will we be on actual Christmas morning?" Hanbin asked pragmatically. "That's the traditional time for gift opening." Again, the adults exchanged glances. They hadn't discussed this specifically. "I thought," Jae-woo started, then hesitated. "I thought perhaps I could join you at your mother's home on Christmas morning, if that's all right with everyone." "Yes," Sumin pumped her fist in triumph. "That's what I asked Santa for." "You asked Santa for me to come over on Christmas?" Jae-woo asked, his voice thick with unexpected emotion. She nodded emphatically. "I asked for us all to be together. That's the most important present." Mina reached across the table, her hand covering Jae-woo's briefly. "That sounds perfect," she said softly. "We'd love to have you there." After dinner, they returned to the tree, now ready for its crowning touch. "Who gets to put the star on?" Hanbin asked. "I think this year your father should do it," Mina suggested. "Since this is his first Christmas with you." Sumin clapped her approval. "Yes, Appa should do it." Jae-woo took the crystal star with reverent hands. It was an heirloom piece he had, discovered in his parents' attic, once belonging to his grandmother. "Actually," he said, looking at his children, "I think we should all do it together." He lifted Sumin into his arms, while Mina did the same with Hanbin. Standing side by side, they helped the children guide the star onto the highest branch. "Perfect," Mina whispered, and Jae-woo wasn't sure if she meant the star or the moment itself. After the children had been tucked into their beds in the rooms he had painstakingly prepared for them, dinosaur-themed for Hanbin, a galaxy of stars for Sumin, Jae-woo and Mina found themselves alone in the living room. The only illumination came from the twinkling tree lights, casting soft patterns across the walls. "Thank you for today," he said, handing her a glass of wine as they settled on the couch. "For making this special." "They're so happy," she replied, her eyes on the tree. "You've become such an important part of their lives in such a short time." "Not short enough," he said quietly. "I still think about those missed years." She turned to face him, her expression serious. "We can't change the past, Jae-woo. We both made mistakes. But look what we're building now." He nodded, taking a sip of his wine to steady himself for what he needed to say. "Mina, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about." She set her glass down, giving him her full attention. "I'm listening. These past months, watching you with the twins, seeing you navigate this complicated situation with such grace, it's made me fall in love with you all over again." The words rushed out, heartfelt and raw. "Actually, that's not quite right. I don't think I ever stopped loving you. I just forgot how to show it, how to prioritize it." Mina's eyes glistened in the soft light. "Jae-woo, please let me finish," he said gently. "I'm not asking for anything. I know we're taking things slowly, building trust again. I just needed you to know that for me, this isn't just about co-parenting. My feelings for you are very much alive." She was quiet for a long moment, her gaze dropping to her hands. "I've been afraid to acknowledge how I feel," she finally admitted. "After everything that happened between us, I was protecting myself, protecting the children." "I understand that," he assured her, "and I respect it completely. But the truth is," she continued, looking up to meet his eyes, "watching you become this devoted father, seeing how completely you've restructured your life for them, for us, it's shown me who you really are, who you've always been, beneath the ambition and the drive." Hope flickered in his chest. "And," she smiled then, a tender expression that made his heart race, "and I think I'm falling in love with you again too. Not the man I left, but the man you've become." Jae-woo exhaled slowly, hardly daring to believe what he was hearing. "Where do we go from here?" "Forward," she said simply. "Together, still carefully, still mindful of the children's hearts. But together." He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "That's all I want." "There's something else," she said, a hint of nervousness in her voice. "I've been offered an opportunity to show my photography in a major exhibition. It would be a huge step for my career, something I've dreamed about for years." "Mina, that's wonderful," he exclaimed, genuinely thrilled for her. "When? Where?" "That's the complicated part. It's in New York, and the opening is just after New Year's. I'd need to be there for at least 2 weeks for setup and the opening events." Understanding dawned on him. "You're worried about the children." She nodded. "My mother could help, but she has her arthritis to contend with, and 2 energetic 6-year-olds would be a lot." "Stay with me," he said without hesitation. "The twins can stay here with me while you're gone." She looked uncertain. "That's a lot to ask. You've never had them for that long on your own." "I'm their father," he said simply. "This is what parents do for each other. Support each other's dreams and aspirations. You've been doing it alone for 6 years. Let me do this for you." Tears welled in her eyes. "You really have changed. For the better, I hope," he said softly. "Definitely for the better," she whispered, moving closer to him on the couch. When she kissed him, it felt both achingly familiar and entirely new. A reconnection and a beginning wrapped in one. His hand came up to cradle her face, thumb gently brushing away a tear that had escaped. "I've missed you," he murmured against her lips. "So much." "I've missed you too," she confessed, "even when I didn't want to admit it." Outside, the snow fell more heavily, blanketing the city in pristine white, while inside the warm apartment, 2 people found their way back to each other, healing old wounds and building new promises beneath the twinkling lights of their family's first Christmas tree. As if sensing the significance of the moment, the star at the top caught the light just so, sending prism reflections dancing across the walls, fragments of light coming together to create something beautiful and whole, much like the family that slept beneath its glow. 3 days after Christmas, Jae-woo stood in Incheon Airport, hands in his coat pockets to hide their slight trembling. Beside him, the twins clutched handmade signs for their mother, who would emerge from security any moment now after her return flight from New York. "I see her," Sumin squealed, bouncing on her toes. "Mom, we're over here." Mina appeared, looking tired but radiant, her face lighting up at the sight of her family. Sumin broke free, racing toward her mother with Hanbin following at a more measured pace, though his excitement was equally evident. Jae-woo held back, giving them their moment of reunion. He watched as Mina knelt to embrace the twins, exclaiming over their signs, listening to their rapid-fire accounts of their time with him. And Appa didn't even know how to braid hair properly, but he watched 5 tutorials and then practiced on my dolls first. Sumin was explaining. "He made us eat vegetables every night," Hanbin reported with mild indignation. "But he also helped me build a volcano model that actually erupts." Mina listened to it all, her eyes occasionally lifting to meet Jae-woo's over the children's heads. When she finally approached him, there was something different in her expression. A decision made, a certainty found. "Welcome home," he said simply. "It's good to be back," she replied, and then surprised him by reaching up to kiss him briefly but tenderly. Right there in the middle of the busy terminal, the twins looking on with matching expressions of satisfaction. "I've been thinking," she said as they walked toward the exit, the children skipping ahead, "about what Sumin said at Christmas, about all of us being together." Jae-woo's heart quickened. "Oh," Mina nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "What would you think about us looking for a new place? Something that would be ours. All of ours. Not your apartment or my apartment, but something we choose together." The implications of her suggestion washed over him like a wave. "Mina, are you saying?" "I'm saying it's time," she confirmed softly. "Time for us to be a family in every sense. If you want that too." Outside, snow was beginning to fall again, gentle flakes catching in Mina's hair just as they had that night at his apartment. Jae-woo reached out, brushing them away tenderly. "I want that more than anything," he whispered. Ahead of them, oblivious to the life-changing conversation happening behind them, the twins danced in the falling snow, their excited chatter about showing their mother all the projects they'd completed in her absence floating back to their parents. Jae-woo took Mina's gloved hand in his, squeezing gently. No grand gestures, no elaborate promises. Just a quiet certainty that after all the detours and wrong turns, they had finally found their way home. "Let's go catch up with our children," he said, his voice full of the future stretching before them. As they walked hand in hand toward the twins, Jae-woo reflected on the journey that had brought him here. From the driven executive who measured success in acquisitions and profit margins to the man who now measured it in bedtime stories, family dinners, and the love reflected in the eyes of the 3 people walking beside him. It hadn't been easy. It wouldn't always be easy going forward, but it would always be worth it. Jae-woo adjusted his tie, feeling a mixture of pride and nervous anticipation. Tonight marked not only the sole debut of Mina's internationally acclaimed exhibit, but also an evening of personal significance he had planned for months. "Dad, is my tie straight?" Hanbin appeared at his side, earnestly adjusting the small bow tie that matched Jae-woo's. "Perfect," Jae-woo assured him, smoothing a hand over his son's carefully combed hair. At 7 years old, Hanbin carried himself with a composure that sometimes made Jae-woo forget his age, until moments like now, when uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "There are a lot of important people here," Hanbin observed, scanning the crowd with characteristic attention to detail. Gallery directors, other photographers, and that man over their rights for art in Asia magazine. Jae-woo raised an eyebrow, impressed. "How do you know that?" "I researched Mom's exhibition online and memorized the key industry figures who might attend," Hanbin replied matter-of-factly. "I wanted to be prepared." A surge of emotion caught Jae-woo off guard. This brilliant, methodical child was undeniably his son, yet possessed a depth of emotional intelligence that Jae-woo himself had only recently begun to develop. "You're remarkable, you know that?" he said softly. Hanbin's cheeks pinked slightly at the praise. "I just want Mom's night to be perfect." "Speaking of perfect," Jae-woo began, Have you seen your sister? The opening remarks are starting soon. Hanbin pointed toward the center of the exhibition, where Sumin twirled in her lavender dress, enchanting a group of art patrons with her animated explanation of her mother's creative process. And then Mom says she has to wait for the light to tell her a story. They overheard her saying with theatrical gravity, "Sometimes the light whispers and sometimes it shouts, but you have to be very quiet inside to hear it properly." The sophisticated crowd seemed thoroughly charmed by her earnest interpretation, nodding as though receiving profound artistic insight. "Should we rescue them or her?" Jae-woo murmured, amused. "Both, probably," Hanbin decided pragmatically. They made their way across the gallery, passing the photographs that documented their journey as a reconstructed family. Here was the first image Mina had captured of the twins with Jae-woo. Their Sunday at the Science Museum, the children's faces alight with excitement while Jae-woo gazed at them with wonder. There was their first Christmas tree, immortalized in soft focus with the four of them reflected in an ornament. Another showed their moving day at the new house. Boxes everywhere, chaos reigning, but all four laughing in the midst of disorder. The final image in the sequence, prominently displayed on the far wall, had been taken just 2 months ago. The four of them on a windswept beach at sunset, silhouetted against a sky painted in impossible hues of orange and pink. They were building a sand castle together, the twins kneeling while the adults bent toward them, the composition suggesting both protection and possibility. It was titled, simply, "Home. There you are." Mina appeared before them, radiant in a simple black dress that set off the silver pendant at her throat. Jae-woo's gift on her last birthday. The gallery director is ready to begin the formal welcome. "You look beautiful," Jae-woo said softly, his hand finding the small of her back. "Mom, I was telling everyone about your light whispering." Sumin skipped over, her dress already showing signs of the evening's activity with a small smudge of what appeared to be chocolate on one sleeve. Mina laughed, using her thumb to wipe a matching smudge from her daughter's cheek. "I heard. You're going to put me out of business with your artistic insights." "Hanbin helped me practice," Sumin confided. "He made note cards with talking points." "Of course he did," Jae-woo said fondly, exchanging a smile with Mina over their children's heads. The gallery director tapped a glass, calling for attention. As Mina was summoned to the small podium for her introduction, Jae-woo gathered both children close. "Remember our plan for later?" he whispered. Hanbin nodded solemnly. "Operation Forever Family, commencing at 9 p.m. precisely." "I practiced my special part 100 times," Sumin added, far too loudly. "Sure," both Jae-woo and Hanbin cautioned simultaneously. Jae-woo's hand slipped into his pocket, fingers brushing against the small velvet box hidden there. After 18 months of rebuilding their life together, navigating the complexities of blending their separate households, establishing new routines, learning to communicate in ways they never had before. Tonight he would ask Mina to marry him, again, not to reclaim what was lost, but to celebrate what they had built from the ruins. The twins were full co-conspirators in his plan, eager to participate in solidifying what had, in their minds, already become reality. They were a family, whole and complete. Mina's voice drew his attention back to the present. Photography has always been about capturing moments of truth, but this collection represents something more personal. It documents a journey of rediscovery, learning that sometimes what breaks can be mended into something stronger at the fracture points. Her eyes found his in the crowd, holding his gaze as she continued. "These images tell a story of second chances and the courage it takes to rebuild what once seemed irreparably damaged. I'm profoundly grateful to my children, who taught me that love doesn't recognize timeframes or schedules, and to the man who proved that true transformation is possible when something matters enough." Emotion tightened Jae-woo's throat. They had never publicly spoken about the circumstances of their separation and reunion. The twins knew only that their parents had lived apart and then found their way back to each other. But tonight, through her art and words, Mina was acknowledging their journey without shame or reservation. The speech concluded to enthusiastic applause, and the evening progressed with Mina moving gracefully between groups of admirers and potential buyers. Jae-woo circulated with the twins, allowing her the professional space while keeping one eye on the ornate clock that hung in the gallery foyer. At precisely 8:55 p.m., he texted the string quartet he had arranged to arrive at the private garden adjacent to the gallery. At 8:57, he signaled Hanbin, who solemnly took his position by the garden doors. At 8:59, he nodded to Sumin, who immediately abandoned her conversation with an art critic mid-sentence to dash to her mother's side. Mom, you have to come see something amazing in the garden right now," she insisted, tugging at Mina's hand. Mina glanced apologetically at her conversation partners. "If you'll excuse me, apparently there's something urgent requiring my attention." Sumin led her toward the garden doors, where Hanbin waited with practiced poise. As they approached, he opened the doors with a formal bow. "This way, please," he instructed, gesturing toward the illuminated path that wound through the cherry trees. Mina raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting from confusion to dawning realization as the first notes of the string quartet reached them, playing the same classical piece that had been performed at their first wedding. "What are you three up to?" she asked softly, but allowed herself to be guided along the path, cherry blossoms drifting around them in the gentle evening breeze. The path opened to a small clearing where lanterns hung from the branches of an ancient cherry tree, creating a cathedral of light in the darkness. The quartet played softly from a discreet corner, while rose petals scattered across the ground completed the scene. Jae-woo stood waiting in the center, his heart hammering against his ribs despite months of preparation for this moment. The twins released their mother's hands and moved to stand on either side of Jae-woo, a united front of hopeful anticipation. "Mina," Jae-woo began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. 13 years ago, I made promises to you that I failed to keep. I confused success with significance, and in doing so, I lost what mattered most." Mina's eyes glistened in the lantern light, her hands clasped before her. "When you came back into my life," he continued, "you didn't just bring our children. You brought me the chance to discover who I could truly be. You showed me what real strength looks like, what true success means." He nodded to the twins, who reached into their pockets. Hanbin produced a small scroll tied with ribbon, while Sumin held a tiny wooden box. "We've written new promises," Hanbin explained seriously, handing the scroll to his father. "Not just from Dad to you, but from all of us. A family covenant." Jae-woo unrolled the scroll and read, "We promise to listen with our hearts as well as our ears. We promise to make time for what matters. We promise to support each other's dreams. We promise to remember that love shows up every day, in the smallest moments. We promise to treasure the family we've become." His voice caught on the last line, which had been written in the twins' handwriting. "We promise to choose each other every day forever." He looked up to find tears tracking silently down Mina's cheeks. "Your turn, Sumin," he whispered. Sumin stepped forward, presenting the small wooden box to her mother with ceremonial gravity. "This is the most important part," she announced. Mina took the box with trembling fingers, opening it to reveal a simple gold key. "It's the key to our forever home," Hanbin explained. "The one we just bought together, where we'll make new memories." Now it was Jae-woo who stepped forward, finally removing the velvet box from his pocket and lowering himself to one knee. "Mina, I'm not asking you to go back to who we were. I'm asking you to go forward with who we've become." He opened the box to reveal a ring that caught and reflected the lantern light. Not a traditional diamond, but a mosaic of smaller stones arranged in an intricate pattern, beautiful in its complexity. "Will you marry me? Again, and better this time." Mina's free hand covered her mouth, her eyes moving from the ring to Jae-woo to the children, who watched with barely contained excitement. "Please say yes, Mom," Sumin whispered loudly. "We practiced a celebration dance if you do." A laugh broke through Mina's tears. "How could I possibly say anything else?" She reached for Jae-woo, pulling him to his feet. "Yes," she said clearly. "Yes to marrying you again. Yes to our forever home. Yes to choosing each other every day." The twins erupted in cheers as Jae-woo slipped the ring onto her finger. He cupped her face gently, wiping away her tears with his thumbs. "I love you," he said simply, "in ways I never knew were possible." "I love you too," she whispered back, "enough to risk everything again." As they kissed, cherry blossoms continued to fall around them, nature's own celebration of second chances. The twins launched into what appeared to be a meticulously choreographed dance involving much spinning and triumphant arm gestures, while the quartet smoothly transitioned to a more celebratory piece. Later, as they walked home together through the quiet streets, Mina and Jae-woo hand in hand, the sleepy twins insisting they weren't tired despite drooping eyelids. Jae-woo felt a sense of completion that had nothing to do with accomplishment and everything to do with belonging. "You know," Mina said softly, "in my exhibition talk, I mentioned that broken things can be mended to become stronger at the fracture points. There's a Japanese art form called kintsugi that repairs broken pottery with gold, highlighting the breaks instead of hiding them." Jae-woo nodded, making the history of the object visible rather than disguised. "Exactly," she said, squeezing his hand. "That's us. Not erased and started over, but repaired and made more beautiful by acknowledging where we broke and how we healed." He looked at their intertwined hands, hers now bearing his ring, a symbol not of ownership but of intention. Then at their children walking just ahead, whispering their own private conspiracies into the night. "I wouldn't change any of it," he realized aloud. "Not even the broken parts. They led us here." Mina leaned her head against his shoulder as they walked. "To think we almost missed this," she murmured. "But we didn't," he reminded her. "We found our way back." Tradition dictated they should have spent the night apart, but they had already decided which customs to honor and which to reimagine. This second marriage would be built on their own terms, authentic to who they had become rather than confined by convention. A soft knock at the door preceded Hanbin's careful entry. At 8 years old now, he moved with the measured precision that had always characterized him, though a barely contained excitement brightened his eyes. "Dad," he whispered, mindful of his sleeping mother. "The weather forecast indicates the rain will clear by 1100 hours, well before the ceremony." Jae-woo smiled at his son's terminology. "Did you calculate humidity variables as well, Professor Park?" Hanbin nodded seriously. 72%, decreasing throughout the day. "The garden will be dried by the staff before guests arrive." He hesitated, then added with uncharacteristic uncertainty, "Is Mom nervous about today?" Jae-woo placed a hand on his son's shoulder, guiding him back into the hallway to let Mina sleep a bit longer. "I think we all feel a mixture of excitement and nerves. That's natural for important days." Hanbin considered this. "I've been experiencing an unusual sensation in my stomach since waking. Not unpleasant, but fluttery." "Butterflies," Jae-woo supplied, touched by his son's vulnerability. "I have them too. But you and Mom are already married. I mean, you were, and you've been living together for 10 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days. The precision of the count made Jae-woo smile. "Some moments deserve ceremony, Hanbin. Today isn't about becoming a family, we already are one. It's about celebrating that truth with the people we love." Before Hanbin could respond, a whirlwind of lavender pajamas and uncombed hair burst from the adjacent bedroom. "Today's the day. Today's the day," Sumin chanted, executing an impromptu dance down the hallway. "We're getting married." "Technically, Mom and Dad are getting married," Hanbin corrected. "We're participating in the ceremony as family members." Sumin rolled her eyes with the dramatic flair of an 8-year-old unwilling to be constrained by technicalities. "We're all getting married as a forever family," she insisted. "That's what Dad said in his vows. I helped write them." Inside voice, "Sweetheart," Jae-woo reminded her gently, though his heart swelled at her enthusiasm. "Mom's still sleeping." "Not anymore," came Mina's amused voice from the doorway. She stood wrapped in a silk robe, her hair tousled from sleep, eyes soft with affection as she surveyed her family. "Some very excited wedding planners woke me. Sorry, Mom."